Thank you for checking out Tea and a Buddy on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hello and welcome to the Tea and a Buddy podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
Today's episode's all about etiquette. Etiquette of the British and the Americans. And how different it is.
Yeah. I don't know how different it is.
It's quite different. I mean, especially in, like, eating situations, I think.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I noticed that when I first came here, you know, so... What you, and of course there's other things and stuff, you know, like, oh, that's, you know, like, you see all these, like, videos of people, 5 things you shouldn't do when visiting England, and all this kind of stuff, and 5 things you shouldn't do. I don't actually think we've seen many of those, 5 things you shouldn't do when visiting America.
Yeah. Kind
of videos. It's all been 5 things Americans shouldn't do when visiting England or the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just mainly, you know, cultural stuff and saying this word or that, you know, really, you know, just that kind of...
So let's talk about this.
Let's talk about this.
What are the main points? What are the main differences? Are these things you've noticed or just like...
These are kind of things, a combination of I've noticed and...
Research of what other people say.
And research what other people say, and it's kind of stuff I agree with. Yeah. You know.
Okay, well, let's see if I agree.
I mean...
Shall we?
We are going to go on to, like, in regards to eating, the whole, you know, keeping the fork in the same hand.
Yeah.
Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I've never noticed over here. Is Americans just eating with the fork and never using a knife.
Yeah.
That you know, like, to cut your food. And never using the knife. And, so, you know, And of course, it's switching kind of like...
Okay, first of all, I want to ask our listeners, let us know if you are American and if you typically, when you're eating food at home specifically, because in a restaurant, it's a different setting, you're kind of more on your best behavior sometimes.
Are you? I've seen people... that's where I kind of first noticed it over here, too.
Yeah.
Not even with you. Because I think when you came to Britain, we kind of ate out a lot, so it was kind of like finger food, like, you know, burgers or whatever it was.
Finger food.
You know, it was like I wasn't...
Chicken nuggets and, you know...
Yeah, it wasn't that, but, you know, it was just kind of like I never really noticed it. It was like stuff that, you know, I didn't really notice. You know? Like, I made a lot of simple food when I lived in the UK. I was like a bachelor, so it was just like I made a lot of, like, pasta and... curry and stuff like that, stuff that you could eat with like one hand. You could eat one-handed. You know, just to say that, you know. Okay,
so what he's talking about, well, let me back up. Like, what I meant was when you go to a restaurant, you're always served a knife with your silverware.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as if knives don't exist over here.
Yeah, you'll usually get a knife and a fork and sometimes a spoon, depending on the restaurant.
Yeah.
But definitely a knife and a fork. But when we're eating at home in America, and let us know if this is true for you or not. Let us know. Maybe every night when you set your table at home, you eat with a knife. I don't know, but in my house and pretty much everybody I've ever known, we just eat with a fork unless we're having like steak or maybe chicken, maybe pork chops, some kind of meat that needs to be cut up. If we're having like pasta or in our house, if we're having Mexican dishes like enchiladas or, you know, anything like that, we just use a fork, you know.
Again, enchiladas is something that needs to be eaten with a knife. To me, you know, it's like, yeah, you can cut it with your fork, but it's like, it's kind of greasy, you know, it's like, it's saucy.
Yeah.
And so you need, like, to scrape all the stuff onto your fork to eat it.
So in Britain, guys, if you don't know, every meal is eaten with a knife and a fork in hand.
In your dominant hand,
okay, so it's not typically like...
Because what you've done that before, yeah, I mean, that's another
knife
thing,
in
the
the right
zigzag
hand,
style.
Knife in the right hand, fork in the left hand.
Yeah, I mean,
usually.
Depending on what your dominant hand is, you might be left-handed, so, you know,
but you put the knife in your dominant hand.
Yes.
Because I think in America, most Americans would eat with the fork fork in the dominant hand.
And the knife.
So, unless you're cutting. When you're cutting your meat, you would hold the fork with your left hand, use the knife to cut the meat, and then switch your fork to your right hand, or your dominant hand.
Yes, the switching. Because you put the knife down.
Yeah.
I keep the knife on me at all times. I've got it in my hand at all times.
Yeah.
I'm ready to stab. I'm ready to go with it, but yeah, you do that. You go, can I borrow your knife? You said to me, can I borrow... It's just, why don't you have your own?
Because we don't typically set
Came
the
out
table.
here, we don't have your own knife to cut your own food with. What's going on here?
Unless we're having meat, we don't typically set the table with knife at every
Yes,
I've
got to remember, when I go into the drawer...
It would just be a fork.
And I've gone and grabbed a knife, and I haven't set the table or whatever, and I just grab cutlery.
Yeah.
And I grab a fork and a knife, depending on what the meal is. If it's just pasta, like if it's just like pasta and sauce or spaghetti bolognese, I don't need a knife for that.
But yeah, no, we were just talking about this the other night, weren't we? Because you were like, I can't remember what we were eating. Corn, maybe.
Corn.
We were having a side dish of corn, and you were like, yeah, we have to chase the corn around the plate. And I'm going to admit something here.
Guys.
To you people. Well, we're all friends, aren't we?
No, it's not you admitting. That's probably 95% of Americans do this.
I was using my finger with the other hand to scoop the corn onto my fork.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a knife,
and
that would have been much more polite. And I would never do that.
It's not about politeness. It's like, it's sanitary, too.
I wash my hands before
it doesn't matter.
Thank you very much.
It doesn't matter. It's like, this is not...
I'm an animal. What can I say? I would never do that in a restaurant. I would never do that in front of people I don't know. But it's like...
You have. I think you have.
No, I haven't.
You've used your knife. You've used a finger as a knife to scrape it onto the fork. And it's just like, use the knife. That's what it's for. That's
not if I'm not with people
God
that I don't
knives.
know. I'm just with you. So I don't care about you. Don't care about you seeing how I eat.
I use a butter knife, if you know what that is. It's like, like sometimes, unless it's with steak, then you need a sharper knife and everything. But I use a butter knife with, like, enchiladas, lasagna.
Spaghetti.
No, I don't use it. I don't use a knife with spaghetti.
You don't?
No. The knife is forsaken.
Oh my God. I've seen you use it with spaghetti.
Maybe if the spaghetti's got something else, if there's something else on the plate that needs a knife, like broccoli or veg or something, then yeah, I might use my spaghetti just to kind of my knife just to like kind of like cajole the spaghetti onto the fork or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Some people use the proper way is with a spoon.
With the spaghetti, yeah.
You use a spoon and a fork, and you use the spoon as like the base to like twirl the spaghetti onto the fork, and then you go.
Listen, it's not the 1950s. We don't have etiquette class. We're not taught these things in school.
We didn't. I never had etiquette class. I just copied what everybody else was doing. Because when I was a kid, when we were all kids, we used to have our food cut up for us, and then we just eat it like that, which is what I've seen you do. You just cut it all up, and then you just throw the knife away and just eat like...
I don't cut it. I don't cut up like an entire piece of steak. I might cut off a few bites. Yeah. I'll cut a few bites and then eat
It's in my research. People do that.
Remember we were watching... Do you guys... I don't know if any of you guys ever used to watch Craig Ferguson whenever he hosted... What was it? The Late Show? The one that's with James Corden now. Craig Ferguson used to host it. And we were watching one night when he was in, I think, Edinburgh. He had taken this show to Scotland.
Oh, I don't know if it was.
And he had Mila Kunis was one of the guests. And they were all sitting around this big table. and they were eating a meal like that. And I think he commented on the fact that she wasn't using a knife.
No, I did. They weren't.
They didn't comment on it?
Make any. I don't think they did.
I think they might have.
No, because I just remembered, because Mila was sitting there and she had her hand
she was the
dumb
only
in
one.
her lap. And she was like that, and of course Craig's using his knife and fork and just, eating like that, and everybody else is, I guess. And she's just there going, I think
she might have been the only American, I can't remember.
And I'm just like, God, and I just noticed her doing that, and I was like, yeah, that is really weird. Why? It's like, what, it's just easier with a knife.
There must be some immigrants that we in America mixed with that didn't use a knife,
Who was it that didn't use a knife? Own up, Europeans. Come on now.
Because obviously all of our traditions and our ways in this country have been taken from everybody who's immigrated to this country. We took some words off of some people. We're
going to talk about the herb.
We took some customs. We took different things from different cultures. And obviously you guys still use and have always used a knife when you eat. So I don't know why we would have just gone, just to be different. I'm sure
there's some savages in England somewhere, in rural England somewhere, that don't eat with a knife.
Let us know. Do you use a knife? Actually, we'll have to remember and put a poll out. Do you use a knife to eat your dinner or your meal with every time you eat?
Yes.
Unless it's like a sandwich or something like that.
Yeah, unless it's like a burger or a sandwich or something that you use, or pizza. Oh, there you go. Do you use knife and fork with pizza? People do that sometimes. My dad does. But my dad was very, proper.
Seinfeld episode.
Knife and fork with pizza.
What is your research? Tell us about your research.
That zigzag eating style, to avoid it. Some Americans...
What does a zigzag eating style mean?
Cutting the meat
with one hand
and then switching it over.
Okay, yeah.
And they like what you do. You cut up several. Can I borrow your knife? And you're like that, cutting up all the meat, and then you hand it back to me, and then you're just eating it like you're 5 years old.
Why is it like I'm 5 years old?
I don't know. It's just like I cut, and then I eat. I don't cut, and then eat,
What difference does it make?
It does. It's just like you cut off a slice of meat and you go, oh, yes, Reverend, this joint is lovely.
Oh, my God, what a snob.
I'm a very, yes. Oh, yes, Reverend, you have out your Mrs. Parsons and done herself this time with the hog roast.
Oh, my God.
But yes, I mean, that kind of like the switching back, and it's just like you're switching back and you're doing this and all that, and it's just, I don't know. So
that's the eating with a knife and fork etiquette. What's
the end?
What's the next point? That's that one. Yes, let's move. We better move on.
I mean, this is kind of like, I guess it's not really etiquette, but it's cultural kind of difference in restaurants. The waiters and waitresses being overly friendly when they greet you, like, hi, my name's Erica, welcome to the restaurant, what can I get you to drink?
Yeah.
In Britain, I don't know if you remember, it was just kind of like, oh, hello,
they're
welcome.
rude.
They're kind of, hello, here's your seat, what do you want? What do you want for drink?
Yeah.
What do you want for drink?
And then you never see them again.
Well, because, they're not constantly on your back. I mean, that's a source of debate. It's like, oh, how can British people stand that lack of poor service in restaurants? It's like, oh, we went to a restaurant in London, and yeah, they have British accents, these Americans, tourists. They go, oh, we went to this restaurant in London, and we had this waiter who was so rude to us, they never said hello. They never told me that
they've changed from British to American.
Yeah, so it's coming back now because they've been back in the US for a while now. See, so they're just coming back.
Oh my God!
And they go, they never said hello to us, and we were just like, hello, and they never told us their name, and they never said it was great to see us, and they never offered us asked us what we'd like to drink. They just asked us, what do you want? And I said, food.
I mean, so this is not really an etiquette point.
It's not really an etiquette, but it's just kind of like...
This is a manners and etiquette episode.
It's like manners, yes, manners and etiquette, yes, good manners.
So yeah,
And people think British people have good manners. But they don't.
But not in restaurants?
Not generally sometimes. You know.
It's because they're not being tipped on a regular basis.
Because they're being paid a fair wage.
I mean, yeah. No,
Boom.
That's true. They should be being paid a fair wage, but you should only be tipped if you're...
It keeps the food prices down. Going out to eat is probably a lot cheaper in the US than it is in the UK. I haven't done the research. Don't quote me on that. Don't go crazy. Send us your letters.
I would say that wait staff in Britain is definitely a lot more rude than in America, but in America, you know, they
are eager for that tip.
They're desperate to pay their bills. You know? So it's just like, we have to be really super nice.
You know, it's in Britain, it's in England. You know, it's more like you know, not so overdone and the bubbly stuff. Like, hi, my name is da da da. You know, just like really like, oh, how are you today? Oh, yeah, you look so good in that shirt. I love that shirt, sir. And you know, it's just like, oh God, okay, you know, just
no, it's not.
Yeah.
I do not believe British people when they go, oh God, you know,
oh God.
Even if it feels fake, it still makes you feel good. It puts you can't be like, ugh, someone's being nice to me.
No, unless you're a really miserable Brit, and I know there's a few out there. They go like, yes, and can we have our food now before we die of starvation? And we have to hear a life story all over again. You know?
No, you know, I much prefer that to going to a restaurant. Like, I cannot really remember...
Oh, if someone's flat out rude, then yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember anybody being flat out rude when we
Frankie and Bennys
out in Britain.
Frankie and Bennys, they kind of were.
But they definitely are not friendly. They definitely do not care whether we're there or not. They're picking up a check and they're going home at the end of the at the end of the day, you know.
I remember the Frankie and Bennys kind of was just like, okay, stuffed mushrooms, yeah. You want a Coke? You wanted a Coke, right? Yeah. Okay. And then they were just off, you know. It was just like, okay, stuffed mushrooms, and you wanted a Coke, right? Okay. Yeah, I'll get that right out to you. You just be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Yeah.
Goodbye, yickety split.
I think in America they do have better manners in restaurants. Yeah,
they do. I do appreciate it. I think I appreciate the US system more. So when I finally go back to Britain and see it again, and it's going to be a bit like, well, aren't they rude? Gosh diddly darn, aren't they rude?
I mean, like I said, I don't remember anybody being rude, but I don't remember any kind of service really standing out. I do remember that they literally just bring you your food and your one drink. They don't come check to see if you want refill.
Oh no, there'll be no refills unless you have to call them over and go, oh, can I get another Pepsi?
And it's like you just leave the payment on the table, I think, and go when you're finished.
Unless it's one of those pay at the till and then sit down and we'll serve you, you know.
Yeah, so it's just like, you know, they have no motivation to check and make sure that you're okay. It's like they really don't.
Yeah, if you have a heart attack and fall into your piece of food, they'll just go like that. Well, they're not leaving anytime soon, are they?
I mean, I appreciate not having to tip. I appreciate that they're being paid a living wage. You know, they can live off of their earnings and they don't have to rely on somebody.
Of course, you're probably going to find, you know, if anyone's listening who's a waiter or a waitress, you know, during this lockdown had to kind of like maybe lost their job or whatever. But when they worked as a waitress or a waitstaff, they probably say, oh, it was minimum wage and minimum wage is crap. So don't, you know, it's not great.
But you know, if they,
but you know, they
could still be really friendly and people would probably still tip, maybe even in Britain, you know.
Yeah,
if they were like
the
really
whole tipping
friendly
culture
and gave
in
really
Britain,
good service.
Again, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you know, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's kind of like it's just awkward or if it's kind of like, oh, if I get money and someone else isn't getting it, you know?
Yeah.
There's that kind of like equality kind of thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if they're not getting it. They're not getting it because they didn't deserve it.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. You know, because there's some restaurants out here that share the tip.
Yeah.
They're like, every tip, it doesn't matter if you served a party of 21 and Bob over there served just one guy all night. Yeah. He's getting a share of that tip.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. Anyway, we need to move. We need to move on. We need to move rapidly on.
Yeah, we've just talked all about restaurants and stuff like that. Chatting etiquette now, you know, like how, and it's again a manners thing again, you know. This comes from like it's a bit stereotypical, I suppose. You know, there's that familiar Americans like to chat.
Yeah.
Stereotype, whereas British people don't really. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't like small talk. They won't talk to you. They won't make eye contact.
Yeah.
Whereas Americans go, hey, how are you? What you doing here? Oh, yeah, you doing good? Oh, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And it's because it's been picked up by American tourists who go onto the tube in London. And this is where it all stems from, is the London tube. This is where all British stereotypes, everything, bad teeth, bad food, very sullen and rude. It all comes from being on a tube train. Some American went to Britain for the first time, went to London. They went on a tube train. And they were like, hi, everybody. And no one even looked up. Everybody just said, ignore him, you know. But I think it's just a case of like, and you know, it's like, oh, British people sure are rude. They don't like to talk. And I was talking to this guy and he wasn't really responding. He was just kind of looking at me like, why are you talking to me?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, why are you talking to him? You know, it's like maybe he's, you know, he doesn't want to talk to people, you know. But it's like you've got to, it's just, everybody isn't the same as you. That's the thing. And it's on a tube train. You know, of course it's not, you know, if it's going to be people chatting, if they know each other, they'll be like, oh yeah, but they'll be talking kind of lowly, and of course they're like, hi, how are you? What's going on over there? Oh, you know, and they're really loud.
Yeah.
But people are usually on a tube train, single commuters going to and from work. You know, it's one of those things, you know, imagine you're in your car alone and you're driving to work and you're just like, oh, this job, I hate it so much. You know, you're in your car doing it. Yeah. No one else is there, but these people don't have that luxury. They have to get on with other people who might hate their job.
Yeah.
And they get on there and they're just like, oh, I don't want to talk. I just want to get to my work. And then when I'm coming home, I'm just like, I just want to go home. I've got a lemon meringue pie in the fridge. I'm going to devour that. Binge watch something on Netflix, go to sleep, and do it all over again tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
But then they got this American guy going, hey, funny old country you got here, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I completely disagree with this whole theory that British people don't like to chat. I have not come across one British person that doesn't like to chat, especially, and it may just be because I'm American, they want to talk to me even more. Because they hear my accent and they're just like, oh, you know, they want to know about Trump.
Well, in Wales,
do we have guns in America? Does everyone carry a gun?
Yeah, in Wales, you went down the pub where chatting is allowed.
Yeah, but I mean, people go,
chatting is actually actively encouraged after a couple of pints.
Don't talk to anybody on the tube. It's like, that's true in any big city. You know, people
no one's chatting it up on the New York subway, are they?
No, it's just all strangers on there, and there's that whole thing about don't talk to strangers.
Don't talk to strangers. Stranger danger.
It's not because we're British and we don't talk to each other. And
we are British, therefore we do not talk to you.
I will say, Americans are probably more friendly, more chatty.
Yeah, they're more chatty, they're more friendly, and it's like, what you want, mate?
That's more...
What are you talking about, mate?
That's more common.
You what, mate?
Especially in the southern United States and in Texas. I mean, we've talked about that before. You know,
well, sit down here, little darling.
You say hi to people you don't know. You know. But, I mean, in Britain, the whole thing about you're right, you know, people say that to strangers, you know. They're not expecting... oh, actually, I'm not all right, da-da-da-da-da. But you're not really expecting that, even in America, when you say, hi, how are you, you know?
Yeah, you're not really expecting, well, Gotta tell you, my house burned down the other day, and I'm feeling pretty crap.
So I really do not agree with the whole chatting etiquette thing. Like, oh, don't chat to people in the UK. This is like it.
Well, you could be like that woman who went into the fish and chip shop. Yeah, I'm referencing that thing again.
What?
That review.
Oh God, here we go.
And it's just like, it's like she's very chatty, that woman, she's like, we've been lucky, haven't we?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, don't talk to me in riddles or code.
I mean, that's the thing, is you have to read the situation. You have to take cues from the people around you. Do they seem like they're the chatty type? I personally am not a chatty type. I do not like small talk.
Here she is talking.
If you see me walking on the street, please don't speak to me. It's like,
please don't speak to me.
No, it's like, I will say hello to you. I'll say hi. In Texas we wave to strangers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really don't think that the chatting etiquette is really that much different in either place. I think that Britain has come to be known as a don't talk to us place, but it's not entirely true. I can vaguely remember, like, I don't know, just similar situations as to things that have happened here where you're maybe looking for something, or you're deciding on something in a grocery store or something like that, and I vaguely remember a stranger going, oh yeah, that's not very good, or whatever.
What was that, here?
No, like in Britain. I can't remember specific instances, but I vaguely think that
if that's you,
that,
if that's you, though, you're talking in your accent. That's the accent there that's pulling them in. I'm like, oh, you're from, oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, the pasta's down that aisle. Yes.
And
you're from America, are you?
And like I said,
there during the war,
Like I said, I think it depends on where you are. Like, any big city around the world, the people are not going to be as chatty.
Yeah.
New York City has a reputation for being like that. I've never had anybody be anything but friendly to me in New York City, though. I've never had people be rude if I asked, like, directions, or, is the Empire State Building around here? People have only ever been, like, friendly and polite. So I feel like the same thing would be true in Britain, in London. I can't imagine if you...
In Britain they say, I don't know, don't care, and I gotta go, mate.
Unless you're being super obnoxious, I can't imagine someone being rude to you if you're, just... There's the whole thing about chatting about the weather. Oh, British people love to chat about the weather. That's being chatty, that's contradictory
in Wales. Welsh people like to chat.
No, but they say British people love to chat about the weather. Oh, there's small talk about the weather. Yeah.
Well, that's what. Yeah.
It's like that's.
But it could be code, like that woman in the chip shop. Though.
One more thing I will add that you don't have on this list, and it's very. I don't know if it's very specific to Texas or the South or whatever. Maybe it's true around the entire United States. I don't think that it is, but I could be wrong. That in Texas particularly, we as kids are raised to say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and please and thank you, no matter what. Like, we will get smacked if we do not say those things as a kid
Texas
growing
manners,
up. Yeah, so when you become an adult, then you're still just accustomed to going, if someone says, oh, Erica, could you come over here a minute? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's someone that you're not, like,
yes,
super
yes,
close
ma'am.
to.
Yeah.
You're not, like, best friends with the person that you're going to call ma'am or sir. It's, like, just a sign of respect, though. And I do know that I probably might have said it in Britain, and maybe it was just like, oh, what, made fun of in Wales or something.
Yes,
like,
ma'am.
At one of your
listen to her
friends' parties or whatever.
Calling me ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, did you want another piece of pizza or whatever? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
yes, please, or,
Yes, ma'am.
In Britain, they do say please and thank you, though, don't they? That's a common...
Cheers, mate.
That's
what they say.
Cheers, yeah, that's...
Cheers, mate.
It's the same thing, though.
You got it there. Cheers, mate.
But yeah, you guys definitely do not say sir and ma'am at all.
Yeah, no, ma'am. That's very formal. That's very mom. Yes, mom. Yes, mom. Yes, sir.
You would never say yes, sir. Like
usually, it's yes, my lord.
Like if you're being gotten
yes,
on
my
to.
Lord.
Like if you're being gotten on to. Oh, and you better never do that again.
Yes, my lord.
Like if you were in work and you did something.
Yeah.
And your boss was going, and if you do that again, you're gonna be fired. Da 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 da. How would you reply to that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you would say yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's similar.
Yes, my lord.
Let us know any other differences between British and American manners or etiquette in any sort of situation that you can think of.
Yeah.
I know we only touched on a few, but we tend to ramble, so we don't have a time for all of the
oh yes,
all of the differences that there are in one podcast. So let us know if you can think of any others, and maybe we'll make another podcast at some point about them. Other than that,
we'll see you later.
I think we're done here. Yeah, we're out of time.
So, we're right on time.
Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate your support. If you would like to further support us, if you enjoy the content that we provide to you, get it in
like an American radio commercial where they go
terms and conditions apply. The easiest way to support us is by sharing. So if you are part of any Reddit group or forum, or if you answer questions on Quora or wherever,
share us.
Yeah, share our podcast. Tell people, check these people out.
Check them out. Check them in.
Yeah, because then we just get more listeners. We're able to provide more better content all the time. And, we'll just continue to grow and improve over time. And so, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. As always, we really appreciate you. And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.